Today is finally the day that I get to unveil this bad boy, the SDG Go-To Custom Lead Mold designed by yours truly. This has been a huge project. At the same time that I was doing the multi-block project, I had this going as well. 4 different iterations of it. This is the 4th. Super psyched to share it with you guys and gauge interest. So I created this originally for just me, but if there's enough interest out there and you guys want to get your hands on one too, I will explore how to make that happen. So you'll have to tell me at the end of the video. Look at this beauty. Oh my goodness. So this is not your average mold in a number of ways. First of all, it is not cast aluminum. So it's not one of these do-it jobs, which I love and have a ton of, right? Cast aluminum, 40 bucks a mold, 50 bucks a mold. Easy to customize, softer aluminum. That is not what we're talking about here. This is CNC precision milled aluminum, much closer to like a soft plastic mold. So that's a big difference, 1, but 2, it's one mold with 7 cavities that represents multiple bait techniques. Starting way over here on the handle side, that is a 1/2 ounce spinner bait head. You can see right there where the wire would come out and hang over here when you pour it. Next is a 1/16 ounce swim bait head. Then you have multiple 1/8 ounce swim bait heads, but they take different size hooks for different size swim baits. Then you've got a 1/4 ounce swim bait hook or swim bait head with, if you see right there, space for a skirt collar. So you can actually add a skirt to that 1/4 ounce. And then lastly, a 1/2 ounce bladed jig head. So it makes it very unique in that you've got one mold that can pour multiple jig head types for all these different variations, and these are all of my favorite techniques. These are my go-to techniques, which is why I called the dang thing the SDG Go-To. Some other cool stuff that I nerd out about this crap. It was a lot of fun to design this, but one of the other things about this is that everything except one has a lead keeper. I got so sick, especially on the 1/8 ounce and likewise, having to deal with a little wire keeper, and I really wanted a lead keeper in there. But if you know lead keepers, they can be notoriously hard to pour. So if we look on the other side, you can see the mold is vented off of each one of those keepers. The one that does not have a lead keeper is this little dude right here. That's the 1/16 ounce. We didn't put a lead keeper on that one because I wanted a larger eye on that than what would maybe typically go on it, which meant the head needed to be bigger, which means if we had more lead in the collar, we were gonna go over 1/16. That was the one that uses a wire, but everything else uses a lead keeper. These 1/8 ounce ones, you can see how long that lead keeper is as well. The collar rather. That's a long collar all the way down here to the keeper on each one of those. The reason for that is because, at least in my experience, when that keeper, be it a lead or a wire keeper, is right up underneath of the head and you push that swim bait on there, you've got this teeny tiny little minuscule amount of the bait that's being kept by that keeper, and inevitably it pulls through, tears, and it's no good. I wanted a keeper with an extended collar that would push that keeper down into the bait farther, which would hold it more secure and hold it up against the head better, longer. But the last little nuance is this 1/4 ounce head. So this guy right here. You may wonder if it's got a skirt collar spot, why didn't we just do a 1/4 ounce swim jig, like a finesse swim jig? And truth be told, that was my intent. So if I go all the way back to version 1, that's what was there. And that guy, no matter what I did, I could not get that guy to pour consistently. I could get baits out of it, I just couldn't get it consistent. But what I did was I kept the core of that head, the head itself, as well as the collar, because I thought, you know, it would be cool, a skirted swim bait. Like an open water, I want more volume, I want more movement with a skirt, no weed guard, 90-degree hook as opposed to like a 30-degree or 45 or 60-degree swim jig hook. But I wanted the ability to beef up a swim bait to be fished in open water if I wanted to. If I didn't, you can slide that swim bait all the way up against the head. It's just a little bit more collar. It pushes the lead keeper far that much further down into the bait. No harm done. All right, the last one. We're actually gonna get the lead here warmed up in just a second and pour this thing for you guys. But I wanted to show you one last deal, and it's the eyes. I love, love, love big eyes. So that's what we went with on all of these. That spinnerbait head, that is an 8mm eye socket. Super freaking cool. 4mm, 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 4mm. This guy is a 6mm, and that one as well is an 8mm eye. All right, one last thing to do before the lead, and that is dropout spray. This stuff I have found to be extremely valuable anytime I'm pouring lead, even in the cast aluminum, but especially when I'm pouring this guy. I don't even attempt it without coating it in dropout spray. I'm gonna go outside and coat this bad boy, get the lead warmed up, and we'll get to pouring. All right, the lead is warming up, but I wanted to show you guys what it looks like with the hooks all installed. Starting over there on the left, that is the spinnerbait hook, and I'm gonna go ahead and remove that now because it's gonna fall out when I move to the other stuff. But that is assuming a 5/0 Mustad 32-608 spinnerbait hook, but you can see lots of room. You could do a lot of other hook types, hook lengths with it. As a matter of fact, while I'm talking about that, see how it's milled out underneath all of those hooks? This entire bottom section is all milled out, and we did that on purpose so that we could use as many different hooks in each cavity as possible. Those that are familiar with CNC molds like this, they're really created around the hook in a big time way, so it kind of limits you as to what hooks you can use in what cavities. But by milling out that whole bottom section, it really gave us a lot more variability. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and take this guy off so I can pick this up and give you a little closer view. There's the 1/16 ounce loaded up with the wire keeper. That is using a size 2 32-755, but I will tell you that you can go all the way down to a size 4. Originally, this top milling was a little bit lower, and the hook point actually came over the top just a hair. I could still pour it, but I asked him in version 4 to go ahead and mill out just another millimeter, and that now fits perfectly a size 4 hook as well. And while we're at it, that is a size 1, and you can even get it to work with a 1/0. Those were either 32-755s or 32-570s. Next up is our first 1/8 ounce head using a 1/0, and that is a Mustad 32-755 as well. Slightly larger 1/8, it's got a wider gap to it in this middle one. That is a 2/0 32-746. And the last one is the biggest hook, the longest hook that you can see, as well as the widest gap. That is a 3/0 Victory 10-575. So you may be asking yourself, why do you have all of these different hooks, all for 1/8 ounce? And the reason is I find in the waters that I fish most often a 1/8 ounce head, but the different swim baits that I fish all have different heights to them. So I need a wider hook gap on some. I need a longer hook shank to get back into the bait on some. And quite frankly, I just wanted a 1/8 ounce head with a 4mm eye to fit all of my favorite baits. If you like one in particular, there's probably a couple of those cavities where you could put the same hook in and pour multiples if you wanted to. All right, moving on now to this 1/4 ounce head. That one uses a 4/0 hook, but it's the same as that largest 1/8 ounce, it's the 10-575. And now to quite possibly the most interesting cavity of all, this bladed jig hook. So that one is loaded up right now with a wide gap VMC 7328 5/0. So truth be told, that is the version 1 head, and this has been one of the ones that has been most challenging because I honestly didn't really want a wide gap hook like that, but it was the only one that worked with the head design. So the head design slopes as it goes forward, and if you want the post to pop out as close to the front as possible without too much of the hook post, right? The spot between where it bends up and the eye, that's the post. If you don't want too much of that hanging out or extending off the head, but the slope of the nose goes down, you need a degree bend that accommodates for that. And the only one that I could find was this VMC 7328. With version 2 and 3, we tried a round bend hook and pulling that exit point out of the head back, just to see if we could get the benefits of a round bend hook, which some guys like better, but still not have so much of the post hanging out, because if it's way down at the nose, you're gonna have this huge long post, and then the eye. I poured a bunch of them and I just could not get satisfied. They worked, but they didn't work as well as this EWG, this wide gap version. That same cavity is built around a 5/0, but it will easily take a 4/0, which lessens the gap. Then I went to some other round bend hooks, a Mustad 32-796. And basically what I did is I took a pair of pliers and I would squeeze way up like that, get right in that bend, and I would just massage it. I would just squeeze that guy so that it came, the degree of that bend just pushed out just enough so that it matched the same degree as the 7328. It wasn't ever enough to, call the hook into question. You're just bending it like 15 degrees, which is really not very much at all. You just bend it a touch, and what you end up with is this. Same hook, just a more shallow bend. My personal favorite is a slightly modified round bend that looks like that. All right, let's see if we can get all these in one pour around the camera. Gonna be a bit of a challenge. Here we go. Bladed jig, 1/4, 1/8, 1/8, 1/8, 1/16, and the spinnerbait. All right, let's see how our pour worked out. Got 2 gloves on because this bad boy is smoking hot. Really helps any lead mold, but especially these CNC precision molds. Get them nice and hot, and drop out is a must. All right, well, all of them but one on one side, but we'll get a chance to see them all. Got a little tape up on the top there just to hold the wire in place so it doesn't move when I close it. But there's the spinnerbait, 16th. All the 1/8 ounce. We'll see the 1/4 in a minute. And there's that 1/2 ounce. And there's your 1/4. There we go. Got them all on one side. Just had to see that all together. Absolutely beautiful. So the pour that we just did is cooling down right over there. And we're not going to actually paint all the heads and do all that stuff, take the time to do that on camera now, because I have been pouring these forever and fishing them, catching all kinds of fish on them. So I figured I'd dig into my own tackle box and show you some completed heads with skirts when it's applicable, all of that good stuff. So there is the finished product on the spinnerbait. Oh my lands. So freaking beautiful. There's the eye. That's a Dead Meat Custom 8mm eye using Boss Magic Craw Camo. It's like a green pumpkin blue but camo head. Love it in this pattern. Some striped silicone from Barlow's. Metallic gold pearl on the bottom. Double blade. Absolute beauty. So that was the spinnerbait. Next up is the 1/4 ounce head, and the first one here will be no skirt. There you are with a 4.1 whip wad. Huh? Oh man, I love it. Little pearl eye. So good. So good. And it's sized just right. Like that hook point a little bit further back for the shorter strikes. Same thing with the 4.1, only with the skirt this time. So the hook point is going to be up a little bit further. But if you want just a little bit more volume in your swim bait, how about that? Well, obviously we're not throwing this around cover, right? It's not a swim jig that you would throw around cover because it doesn't have a weed guard. But for a larger presentation in an open water situation, it's perfect. And in fact, I don't know if you could see, this is attached via a rubber band. In my swim bait box, I have a bunch of these that I have pre-assembled, and they all have little rubber bands on them. So I can pop them on, pop them off as I want to, and I keep all kinds of different colors and variations and textures and whatnot in the box for when I want just a little bit more. So that was a 1/4. Now to the 1/8, also with the whip wad. There she is. 4mm eye on there, just the right size. Little chartreuse action. Love how this profile works. So when we got when we got shallower water and we need the 1/8 ounce, that is absolutely on point. Another 1/8 ounce. This one is with the 3-inch chunk. Comes out on that swim bait at the perfect spot, in my opinion. Looks so good. Look at that head. One more 1/8 ounce. We keep going down in hook size. This is the 3-inch inshore. Not a very popular, or not a swim bait that gets a lot of press, but it is beautiful. Look at that thing. There's that other head with Barlow's white and silver vein paint on there. Awesome little package. And then down to a 1/16 ounce. So this one doesn't have the lead keeper. This is the wire keeper inside. 3-inch slick swim, 1/16 ounce. Still a 4mm eye. A little bit harder to see because that's a super pearl eye, but it's the same eye as the 1/8 ounce. I really wanted to keep that bigger eye, which is why we didn't drop it down to like a 3mm, 2mm, 1/8 or 1/8 inch eye, and then with a lead collar. For this one, it was worth the extra work to put that wire keeper in there. And just because I thought you would be curious, although we have one more after that, after this. This is the 1/16 with the size 4 hook. Tell me that doesn't look absolutely tasty, right? I mean, shut up! Little size 4 hook on a 3-inch slayer. Put that on a 2-inch slayer if you wanted to. Anything crappie size with a size 4 rather hook. Last but not least, my personal favorite, what I was most excited about in all of these, although I love them all, is the bladed jig. And I have 2 of them for you to look at. This is the final package with the round bend. 1/2 ounce, just beautiful. Oh gosh, I love it. I like it so much, I have 2 of those for you to see. Look at that. Big 8mm black eye, 3.5 inch Glory Craw, June bug pearl with gold accents throughout, sunburst head with a black eye. That is freaking sick, man. And you can kind of get an idea of the head. So it is shaped triangular, right? So it's wider in the back towards the hook than it is towards the nose. So it kind of has that wedge shape to it. I just love it. I love it, love it, love it. And I will be using it on the channel almost exclusively, right? I mean, not exclusively, because there's lots of other stuff that we can make as well. But when it comes to moving baits and anything that fits in this category, yeah, we're going to the go-to. I am completely content to have this on my own, share it with you guys, make baits, put them on the website. But if there is any interest, and I honestly don't know if there is, but if there's any interest in you guys wanting to pick one of these molds up and pour it on your own, then you need to tell me down in the comments. Forewarning though, this is not a $40 or $50 mold. The price on the mold wouldn't have to include all the design time and all of that labor that I paid for in the 4 different versions to get it to where it is now. So the cost isn't gonna be what I paid per mold, but don't hold me to it, but it's gonna be between $100 and $200 easily. It's in that realm of soft plastic molds, multi-cavity soft plastic molds, CNC precision milled type of stuff. If that turns you off, I totally get it, totally get it. But if that doesn't turn you off and you're like, dude, I don't care, I'd still like to have a chance to get one, then let me know in the comments and we'll go from there. I think that's enough for today. Appreciate you hanging out with me, and until the next time, I'll see you guys